गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. So, is there any need to introduce the concept of jiva? So, towards this, and we, as I said yesterday, that we need to understand dukkha, for dukkha nivritti, sukha prapti. If we know what we have to remove, then we can remove it, no? If you are not even aware of what is the problem, then how can you go beyond it or remove it or make efforts to neutralize it? Otherwise, you will live in the imagination that I have done everything, and we may have a wonderful body from outside, everything is looking good, but inside can be cancer, isn't it? So, same way, this misery, how deep does it go? This ignorance, how deep does it go? We have to categorize, we have to work it and see that what all that we can mention that is known by us is a cause of misery. Then we can be aware of it, we can be alert about it, and be, as the topic is here, the kutastha, so we can shift our attention to the kutastha and not imagine the ego to be the kutastha, not imagine the identified consciousness to be the kutastha. So we can make mistakes. So that we don't make mistakes and come to a correct, logical, direct experience of the kutastha, the mention of jiva and all other, we can use the word anomalies, which take us away from the truth, as if, you can never be away from the truth, only as if. So here the verse goes, we can just repeat, repeat means we repeated it yesterday, but today we'll just chant it together. कूटस्थे कल्पिता बुद्धिः तत्र चित् प्रतिबिम्बकः प्राणानां धारणात् जीवः संसारेण सयुज्यते. The intellect superimposed on the kutastha chaitanya reflects the consciousness. This reflected consciousness, when beholds prana shakti, it is called as jiva. This jiva is subjected to transmigration. This identified consciousness, this conditioned consciousness, this consciousness which is expressing through the conditionings, this is the conditioned consciousness, this is the jiva, and this is superimposed on the kutastha chaitanya. Actually, nothing like this is happening. Superimposition means actually nothing is happening, yet lot of happenings are seen. Actually, the sky can never be blue, but you see the blueness of the sky, isn't it? Actually, there is nothing called husband, wife, brother, sister, etc. But you imagine, you being a man or woman, you imagine yourself in different roles. See? So when we say superimposition, so whatever by wrong knowledge, out of ignorance, we have projected this superimposition on something, or it is happening. Sky, you didn't superimpose, it's happening. The blueness of the sky. The rainbow is happening, the mirage waters is happening. You can't do anything about it. But if you know that this is a superimposition, this is not the real me, then we can shift our attention to the real me, or be the real me, or at least real me I am always. So I cannot be real me, I cannot achieve real me. Then what I can do? I can neutralize or be negate or be uninfluenced by whatever is not the real me. But for that I need to have the information of what is that which is I am not. And in very general terms we have said that which comes and goes is not you. And here it is told in this shloka, the concept of jiva is described in steps. Then it is concluded that it is essential to have this jiva concept for justifying the experiences, good and bad, are seen to affect us. These experiences don't ever affect the pure consciousness or the conditioned consciousness. However, when the reflected consciousness is associated with prana shakti, an entity called jiva is created. These steps are explained here. So now my mind is going, I'm just thinking loudly, it is not given here. When it says that the conditioned consciousness is associated with pranas, then it is called as jiva. Correct? So does it mean, I'm asking a question and let's answer it, come to a conclusion. Does it mean that the consciousness which is expressing through the body in the womb of a mother, where there is no prana shakti, independent prana shakti, so it is not called a jiva? कभी सोचा ऐसे? So that consciousness in the body, in the womb, it has not precipitated into being a jiva because it has not got identified with its individuality. It is a natural expression of consciousness through the body that is happening in the womb. But identification with the body has not taken place. And we see that when a child is born, initially, once it starts crying, it is identified. But as the child grows, we see the identification becoming stronger and stronger and stronger, isn't it? So something to ponder, something to think. So when he's saying here that identification with the pranas, in the womb there is no identification with the pranas. However, someone said something?
With the prana shakti, can we take it as mukhya prana? Not the breath?
Yeah, because here we are not talking about only this jiva, we are talking about the virat. You can take, your attention must be on the both. One individual jiva or all individual jivas who are part of the virata, and that virat is also consciousness expressing through the body, the conditionings. And that virat also was in the Hiranyagarbha. In the Hiranyagarbha. So was he called Jiva when he was in the Hiranyagarbha? No. Only when he came out and started being the breathing person, or the consciousness got associated with the breathing, then he was called as Virat. He was not called Virat in the womb. Then what was his name in the womb? Hiranyagarbha. Sutratma. So all this is story. But because we are conditioned, we are individuals, and as we said, this whole creation is a play between Jeev, Jagat, Ishwar, and we have to understand the mechanics of it. Until and unless we don't understand, how will we go beyond it? Kutastha buddhi kalpita, the intellect which has the capacity to reflect consciousness is projected or superimposed on Kutastha Chaitanya. So there is, if you have never seen mind, you have never seen intellect also. And yet we all say we have a mind and intellect, isn't it? Breath we can feel, but how can you feel mind? How can you feel the thoughts? How can you feel know that there is an intellect? So here it is saying that that intellect. So see now, it's light reflecting in itself. Huh? So on the consciousness, infinite consciousness, pure consciousness. Now we are calling that pure consciousness as Kutastha. And why are we calling it Kutastha? The unchanging one, the irreducible one. Why are we calling it? Because it remains continuously the same even while it is reflecting in the intellect. Where has the intellect come from? It is also part of that pure consciousness. It is pure consciousness only. But it has been superimposed on that Kutastha Chaitanya, on that pure consciousness, and with reference to this intellect or reflected consciousness, we are calling that pure consciousness as Kutastha Chaitanya. With reference to. Then Tatra Chit Pratibambakam, the reflection of consciousness in that intellect is called as Chidabhasa. See, we can understand that. So let's not go too much let's not digress too much, but one example: a wave on the waters. When there is no wave on the water, there is one reflection of the sun. When there are many waves on the water, there are many sparkles reflecting in each wave. What is that sparkle, or what is that one sun when there are no waves? It is the reflection, isn't it? Correct? But here, what is the shortcoming in the example? The water and the wave and the light are separate. You understand? The water and the light are separate. Now, when we are talking about Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness, it is consciousness getting reflected in intellect. That intellect, is it outside the consciousness? No. Nothing can be outside the pure consciousness. So, it's as if one wave is reflecting in another wave, or it's as if one water is reflecting in one wave, which is nothing but water, but conditioned water. You understand? Or you can say, if you say that Kutastha is the unchanging principle, what is the unchanging principle? Water. And what is the intellect? The changing principle. So what is the changing principle? Wave. So water reflecting in the wave. Have you seen that? Yes, it can be possible. Why not? We saw the bimb. Remember, I told you the soap water bubble you make, the different akashas we saw. Ghatakash, Mahakash, Ghatakash, Jalakash and Meghakash. All those were reflections at a totality level and at individuality level, similarly. But there again the shortcoming was the reflection. What was getting reflected in the bubble was different to the bubble. Now our mind cannot work out how can the same thing be reflected in the same. How can water get reflected in water? So here Chidabhasa in English means reflected conscious. Chit abhasa. Chit means consciousness. Abhasa means what will say abhas mean? मुझे आभास हो रहा है कि मेरे को बुखार आ रहा है. I am feeling that I am going to get a fever. आभास. इंग्लिश में कैसे बोलेंगे इसको एग्जैक्ट टर्मिनोलॉजी? हाँ, सेंसिंग. prediction or experiencing, but it's not, we are not experiencing Chidabhasa. It's a Abhasa. So here we are playing with the words and we are coming to a conclusion that it must be so. So do I know there is fever? No. Have I gone to a doctor? No. Am I taking medicine? No. Am I feeling, if I touch my body or someone else touches my body, am I hot? No. But I am feeling that I am I am feverish. But no symptoms. So this is not for reflection, this is abhas. So there is an abhas of blueness of the sky. Similarly, this Chidabhas is a abha. Chidabhas, the word itself is saying there's a reflection of the consciousness in the intellect, sort of. Is it possible? No. It's not possible. But then I have to explain how am I functioning at this moment. Because we are trying to assess the untruth. We are trying to assess the matter. We are trying to assess that which is changing. We are trying to assess the conditionings and this experience of individuality. We are trying to assess. In that assessment, the individuality will vanish. Hopefully. Continuing, Prananam dharanat jivaha, when the Chidabhas beholds the prana shakti, the Chidabhas itself takes the status of jiva. So here some qualification is given. Chidabhas is pure. Chidabhas is unassociated other than with the intellect. Where I can show you. इसी पे देख लो. You can see the light reflecting. So there is one general light which is illuminating the book, and there is some, as I'm moving the book, there are some points on the book surface where there is more, which is more bright than the rest of the book. Correct? Similarly, I can see the extra brightness on Ravi's head. Even Dinesh's head, only on this side, is right on the top. Huh?
Diya, Swamiji, Diya reflecting.
Huh?
Example like Diya is reflecting on the. Is it so? Maybe the puja Diya.
Maybe you are seeing it. That also we can see. Yes. I can't see it from this side. Maybe you can from there. So there is a general light which is illuminating the person, but there is a specific light which is illuminating on the top of the head, because the surface is very refined. It's shining. There is no blockage. Why it is not reflecting on my head? Because there is hair. There is something between the surface and the light, isn't it? Same thing you can see on the walls also. Same thing when you see in your house. As kids, we used to really enjoy that, when the sunlight used to come get refracted and come into the room, and if the car is going on the road, we could see the car going on the wall. The reflection, the silhouette of the car going on the wall, and we used to watch, and then and then by looking at the image on the wall, we used to work out which brand of car it is, and then we used to go out because the shape is there, no? So बड़ा मजा आता था. If a bird is flying and we look at the bird, but it is coming at an angle anyway. So here consciousness is one, because mind, we already said, mind is nothing but consciousness. So in that consciousness, here it is told that this pure consciousness is reflecting in a specific part of the consciousness, and where it reflects in this being, that part is called as intellect. Because otherwise, how will we explain what life is? We have to explain what life is. Life is jiva. How will we explain it? So some mechanism we have to, and this is how the scriptures are telling us. And then it says that this Chidabhas, which is a natural going on, when it gets identified with the prana shakti, the breath, then it is called as this Chidabhas, the reflected consciousness, which is also pure. It is of the nature of Kutastha only. The sun reflecting in the water, the quality of the reflected sun is 99% the same as the real sun. But when that reflected sun gets identified with the movement, what is the movement? Here, breath. When that reflected sun gets identified with the movement of the waters, then, why am I dancing away? Why am I not still? Why am I not calm? Why am I not quiet? Why am I not tranquil? Why am I not at peace? Just similarly here also, this Chidabhas, when it gets identified with the breath, immediately the movement begins. And what is that movement? Birth, death, change, everything is changing then. Saha samsarena yujyate. This jiva is the one who is experiencing the pangs of transmigration and suffering. Now this is the conclusion we have to come about in our life. Pure consciousness is not suffering the joys and sorrows of life. Then who is suffering? The reflected consciousness. Who is this reflected consciousness? That which is identified with the breath. When it identifies with the breath, it becomes an individual. Understand? अब इतना तुम अपने ऊपर वर्क कर लो. And therefore, I'm just thinking loudly here. Right now this thought is coming, so I'm going to share it. Therefore, if you reduce the spandanam of the breath, spandanam, the flux, in, out, in, out, in, out, and if you focus on the breath, and this I have practiced when I was in Europe. I used to work and I had something started. And when you focus on the breath and slowly, the breath became slow and it used to go into kumbhak. It used to go into kumbhak for long periods of time. And in that, there's no identification with the body, there's no identification naturally with the senses, there's no if there is no breath, is there a mind? There is no mind. It was a scary experience, but I kept experimenting, and going beyond the fear, because the fear comes. See? So by watching and therefore, yes, this is what I wanted to say, and therefore Kriya Yoga, which is just following the breath and purifying the breath and then quietening the breath, is a valid means to disassociate from change, to dissociate from flux. That spandanam, you call that spandanam as breath, or you call that spandanam as the throb within the body, it is because of the breath alone. Whether it's the cosmic breath or it is the individual. So at the cosmic level, that is the one, Virat Purush, here it is our level. So that also becomes a way to come to samadhi by following the breath and reducing the impact of the breath on us, and eventually when you are not associated with the breath will not continue. It will stop for some time. The jiva is unable to discover the kutastha chaitanya due to mutual superimposition. Jalavyomna ghatakasho, jalavyomna ghatakasho, yatha sarvasthiro hitaha, yatha sarvasthiro hitaha, तथा जीवेन कूटस्थः, तथा जीवेन कूटस्थः, सोऽन्योन्याध्यास उच्यते, सोऽन्योन्याध्यास उच्यते. I am using all the words for adhyas, 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 adhyas. It is superimposition only. So here it says, as Ghatakash is hidden under the Jalakash, the space reflected in the water in that spot. Now, little bit analysis. So just as in the Ghatakash is the pot space. Where is the pot space when the pot is filled up with water? Where is the space? Has it gone away to give place to water? Think. Has it gone away to give space to water? No, it is there. Because it is there, only you can fill up water. If space goes away, then the pot also goes away. If pot goes away, there can be no collection of water in a pot. So here it says, as Ghatakasha pot space is hidden under the Jalakash, so you are not able to see the pot space because your attention is only on the water that is there in the pot. The space reflected in the water in that pot. So also the Kutastha Chaitanya gets covered by the Jiva. This is called mutual superimposition. So, when the water is calm, quiet in the pot, it is still, you look at the water, what do you look? You are looking at the water. Can you look at space? Can you look at space? It's not a trick question. No. You cannot see space. So how do we relate to space? Emptiness, accommodating, the ability to accommodate. So even though we are not able to see it, but we know that because there is space, there is water. The process of mutual superimposition is explained through an analogy. Yatha jala vyomna sarva ghatakasha tirohitaha. In fact, the pot space supports the water in the pot. This we have concluded. The reflection of space in the pot water is the one which can be appreciated being very evident. So, let's see where it takes us. The result is that the pot space itself gets covered or hidden behind the reflection of the result is that the pot space itself gets covered or hidden behind the reflection of the space. Okay. So in that pot space, you are seeing the reflected space. Then where has the space in the pot gone? It is still there, but you cannot, this is double superimposition. So pot space is there because of which water was there. Now in that water you are seeing the outside space, and that outside space is you are seeing it because it has a color or whatever, blueness or whatever other color, and then you say, I don't think there is no pot space here. No, it is behind because without it you couldn't have water. But you can't see pot space because it has got no other than accommodation, it has got no other quality. It is not able to reflect out of the water. But that which is outside, that is reflecting on the water. Thus, the reflection of the space in water is superimposed on the pot space, and the pot space is hidden under the same superimposition. They exist in mutual superimposition. What is the mutual? What is so exactly like that mutual superimposition when applied on Kutastha Chaitanya, the Jiva covers the Kutastha Chaitanya, although the Kutastha Chaitanya supports the concept of Jiva. How can Kutastha Chaitanya support the Jiva? Just like pot space supported the reflected space. If pot space was not there, water was not possible. If water was not there, reflection of space was not possible. Exactly the same way, the jiva, he covers the. अरे बंद हो गया. The jiva covers the Kutastha Chaitanya, but in the first place, because Kutastha Chaitanya was there, therefore the intellect was there, therefore the reflection was there, therefore identification of the reflection with the breath was there. All this would not have been possible if the substratum was not there. You cannot have a river without a river bed. Foundation has to be there. The basis, ये नहीं है, कोई नहीं है. So this conclusion we can appreciate. Similarly, तथा जीवेन कूटस्थः तिरोहितः प्राण शक्ति. In the same way, the jiva covers the Kutastha Chaitanya. Although the Kutastha Chaitanya supports the concept of jiva, the latter becomes so strong. Who is that latter? The jiva becomes so strong and firm that the very substratum which is supporting the jiva gets totally hidden. This is called mutual superimposition. And when you watch the breath, you are diluting the superimposition. When you do the japa, you are diluting the superimposition. When you are attending satsangs like this, where we are deep diving into this analysis, you are weakening the superimposition. And maybe while you are listening, while you are watching your breath, while you are doing your japa, suddenly you get a glimpse of quietude. And that time you say, "Arey, there was nothing there." Don't get into the fear. Don't go into the emptiness or nothingness. That time, be the consciousness that you are. And that's why we are studying this. So that when that moment happens, you don't lose yourself to void. Because there's nothing called void. There's nothing called emptiness. There's nothing called nothingness. Even that, if you say there is, as Patanjali Yoga Sutra says, nothingness, emptiness is also a thought. If you say it is, but someone is observing it, no? That you are. Having defined the two aspects of consciousness called Kutastha and Jiva, it was explained how the Jivatva covers the Kutastha, the substratum, just as Jalakasha covers the Ghatakasha. It is just another way you can say, just like when you are behaving as a husband or wife, you have forgotten that you are the man or a woman. But without man, woman, husband and wife cannot express. Correct? No, I am not a father and mother, I am only grandfather and grandmother. You cannot be grandfather and grandmother if you are not a father and mother. And you cannot be father and mother if you are not man and woman. Double superimposition ho gaya. One is covering the other. You can't see the man, you are saying I am the husband. Then you can't see the husband because I am so identified with being the grandfather that I forget that I am the husband. Till the wife doesn't trouble you and demand attention. Now the question arises as to why this happens. See, these questions we will never ask. Pancadasi is so wonderful. I love this text. The questions are such, and all those questions which we'll not even imagine in our analysis. Forget, itna bhi nahi hum karte kabhi. Ayam jivo na kutastham, ayam jivo na kutastham, vivinakti kadachana, vivinakti kadachana, anadira vivekoyam, anadira vivekoyam, mula vidyeti gamyatam, mula vidyeti gamyatam. The jiva cannot discriminate this kutastha and come to realize it. Huh? One thing, be very clear. If you are identified with the breath, you think you are a living person, that you were born, that you are this body, that one day you will die. As a jiva, you can never come to know the kutasthas chaitanya, which is the substratum. Then why I have come to the class? Then why am I spiritual and religious? Then why should I do any sadhana? No solution. If I cannot know it, then there is no point me pursuing all this. And this is the point that makes the seeker frustrated. Not a well established, but a beginner seeker, he gets frustrated and he drops the sadhana. Because he is trying to objectify the source. He is trying to objectify the kutastha chaitanya or the pure consciousness. The intellect has got no jurisdiction over kutastha chaitanya. But in the light of kutastha chaitanya, you are able to come to suss out that there is mind, intellect, body, breath, and all the studies that we are doing. But for the intellect, which itself is a product of conditioning, it has got a limited capacity. Yes, it can think out of the box, etc. That's why we are appreciating. Mind cannot do that. Senses cannot do that. But it cannot come to know the kutastha, the pure consciousness, the unchanging principle. Then what is the way out of this? Think. What is the way out of it? If intellect cannot come to know the kutastha chaitanya or the intellect meaning chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness cannot come to know the pure kutastha chaitanya, then what is the way? Then why are we doing the sadhana? Can the reflected consciousness go back to the kutastha chaitanya? Can the wave go back to the water? Think, just don't say yes, nod. Can the wave go back to water? Then where is the question of going back? No, you have to be very careful. That's why I'm asking the question. See, you know the answer, but this is where we get distracted in our conditionings. So wave cannot go back to water because it is already water. And that reflected consciousness is making, which is nothing but water, but it is calling itself a wave. Then what is the realization for that wave? To contemplate, because wave is a reflected consciousness, no? So it will think about the wave, it will think about the water, and in that thinking of the water, it will rediscover that it was never a wave. It was only water. And this happens without any thoughts, without any communication. Nothing to do. What have you to do to discover that I am not a husband or a son or I am a man? Nothing. There is no sadhana that you have to do for that. You are already. And once you come to know that you are the man, then all the roles that you are playing, they become handleable. See? Same way here. So with that background, now let's enter into this. Ayam jiva kutastham na vivinakti kadachana. The jiva who enjoys and suffers is unable to separate this kutastha chaitanya from the jiva. The jiva who is the waker with reference to the waking experience and the dreamer with reference to the dream experience are independent of each other, but both of them are supported by the kutastha chaitanya, the consciousness which illumines the experience of the waker as well as the dreamer. The waker and the dreamer come and go, but the kutastha is the one common denominator in both planes of consciousness. Now, where are we going wrong in our approach? Why are we not? We can, but here, if we do not take the entire experience of our life and then assess it, till then it will be difficult. So, when I look at my thoughts, when I look at my memories, when I look at my concepts and ideas, sometimes it becomes difficult to go back to being to what is this kutastha chaitanya. But when we say that the waker and with the waking world came and went, dreamer with the dream world came and went, we are very, yeah, I know. Who knows? That one is the kutastha chaitanya. Why? Because the waker has no entry into the dream and the dreamer has no entry into the waking and also the sleep. You don't understand all this, but logically it clicks to you that yeah, who I am right now, I am a waker. I have got no entry into the dream. I don't know what happened there. Otherwise, I would have recounted everything that happened in the dream. And the dreamer also has got no entry into the waking. But I know that both the states, both the experiences happened. In whose light it was revealed that both of them happened. If it was not the waker, we already worked out waker cannot come to know the dream and the dreamer cannot come to know the waking. Then who knows? Now that we put it as X. Is that X factor? It is that kutastha chaitanya. He is the anvil. He is the unchanging, in whose presence all this change is going on. Change of waking, dream and deep sleep. So, and in this way, the waker and the dreamer come and go, but the kutastha is the one common denominator in both the planes of consciousness. So therefore, even in deep sleep, waker and dreamer have got no entry into the deep sleep. Then who comes to know that I had a wonderful sleep if there was no thoughts like there was just like their thoughts in the dream, their thoughts in the waking, but in the deep sleep there are no thoughts, and yet knowledge has taken place. Yet knowledge that I had a good sleep. Someone is watching. Someone is watching. Either you call it kutastha chaitanya or you call him as antaryami. Remember yesterday's class? Who is that? Pure consciousness appears as antaryami or Ishvara, then appears as Virat, Sutratma, and then appears as Jiva. So either if you can't, I cannot take this position of what, I think it's the law. Some higher power. What is that higher power? Antaryami. What is, for a devotee, that Antaryami is the Ishvara. He knows. And then when we say the Lord knows everything from inside, that Lord is the Antaryami. That Lord alone is not other than the kutastha chaitanya. But here we are giving the name kutastha chaitanya with reference to reflected consciousness. The jiva is unable to make this distinction between himself and the kutastha chaitanya because he identifies himself too much with the limitations. So what are the limitations? The panchakoshas, and it extends outside. And second, he is not ready to make that separation. So first is too much identification with the limitation. That limitations could be grandchildren, children, husband, wife, past, future, aspirations, ambitions, comparisons, competitions, judgments, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Or it can be sattvic also, or compassion, non-violence. You can be identified with any damn thing. There is no end to this identification. But when you start watching the breath, for example, I gave you that example, as the breath slows down, your identification with everything starts dropping away. When you think of sleep every night, your identification with everything naturally starts waning, isn't it? And even if it is waning and the possibility of abidance or being the Kutastha Chaitanya is there, out of fear, we accept deep sleep, the ignorance, rather than be the Kutastha Chaitanya. This is the fear. I don't want to drop. See, what is happening in deep sleep? Your observation, not about yourself, about other people who are sleeping. They are not identified with their body. They are not identified with their surroundings. Isn't it? That is why the body becomes heavy. Because you are not identified with the body. So it must be happening to you also when you are sleeping. But if you were to disidentify with the body consciously, just before going, last thought, before you get absorbed into nothingness, which we call as sleep. So at that moment you remain awake. You will have to overcome the fear of nothingness. And that nothingness is, I don't want to lose being the body. It's very easy when ignorance takes over. You get sucked into the sleep. You don't have to think about separating from the body. But getting sucked into the sleep, at that very instance, you are separating from the body. But when you are alert about it, it becomes a conscious experience of separating from the body, and fear sets in. Overcome your fear. This happens during japa, this happens during watching your breath, this happens during kundalini, this happens during kriya yoga, this happens during dharana, dhyan, samadhi, and this happens even in this class. When you're over focused than your stamina, and then the mind, enough man. And the moment it says enough, sleep comes. Or too much, because what is the enough? Too much data coming. And that data is not being processed subjectively, then it becomes too much. It is being processed objectively as information. If it is processed objectively as information, it becomes a load. When it is processed as the words are coming and going through your mind, and your attention is on what they are talking about, Kutastha Chaitanya, then there will be inspiration. You will not get tired. Then sleep will not come. These are small things that you may have experienced, but you have not articulated it. But this happens to everyone who does japa. This happens to everyone who goes to sleep. I'm just opening the box and telling you what is happening at that moment.
It's similar as the Turiya Avastha.
Turiya Avastha is different. Turiya Avastha, you can call it as samadhi. But samadhi will not happen. Samadhi can happen. Jada samadhi is also there. Without losing your body identification, you can still go into samadhi. But it is temporary. But if you go into samadhi without body identification, then transformation happens. Then you will never forget who you are. But majority of the people who go, they go with body identification. or they go seeking the joy of samadhi, and that samadhi, the joy, the bliss, like we go to sleep. Why every night? Because we experience the bliss of sleep, isn't it? Exactly the same way, equally potent is the bliss of samadhi. And that some bliss of samadhi becomes the addiction. And I want to go into it again and again, again and again, again and again. We have to come to a point where whether eyes are closed or open, whether we are sitting in a satsang or in a marketplace, sahaja samadhi. We are always in that bliss of unison, union. You can't even use the word union, because being the pure consciousness, being the witnessing consciousness, or here in this language, be always being the kutastha. The moola avidya is further, this is because of the lack of discrimination from the time unknown. So when did we become ignorant? Anadi. Anadi means beginningless time. So reality, pure consciousness is also anadi, beginningless. And ignorance is also beginningless. But reality, pure consciousness is ananta, endless. Ignorance ends. For who? For who? Huh? For human beings, if they choose to. Gods cannot, asuras cannot, no other being can, except human being can put an end to this ignorance. But he has to make that choice consciously. This absence of discrimination is called the original sin. When you forget that you are the Kutastha Chaitanya and accept that you are the Jiva who is identified with the breath and body, or the Panchakoshas eventually, because everything happens simultaneously. This is the original sin. Sin is not, I should not have done that, I should not have hit you, I should not have spoken bad to you, I should not have stolen from you. This is all okay. That means we can do it? No. So this is the original. Forgetting who we essentially are and living as who we are not. Forgetting we are the man and living as the husband is the sin. And all problems are for the man, for the husband, not for the man. Similarly, all the problems are for the jiva. Joys, sorrows, ups and downs, ambitions, past, future are for the jiva, not for the Kutastha Chaitanya. Think. The moola avidya, what is the original ignorance or original sin? What is this? So here the word used is moola avidya, original sin. Vikshepavrittirupabhyam dvidha vidya vyavasthita nabhati nasti kutastha padanamavritihi. The functional aspects of the ignorance are avarna and vikshepa. We have done this in our Upanishad class, in Bhagavad Gita class also. We have seen when we are doing the bhashya. And avarna means veiling power and vikshepa means the projecting power. In the first class also I mentioned it. I'm not taking the technical terms, avarna and vikshepa, but I told you in English. The expressions like neither the Kutastha shines forth nor does it exist at all are the effects of avarna shakti, because of the veiling power, because of that wailing power, even though you are abiding in the pure consciousness as the pure consciousness, but you don't know it. Therefore, you are under the spell of ignorance, and that state is called as sleep. In sleep, you are abiding in yourself. You are one with Kutastha, but you don't know it. Why? You're scared. Why? You don't want to build up that stamina of alertness when the last thought concludes and the mind becomes empty. You allow, consciously you are allowing, you are inviting the sleep of ignorance. Why don't you invite the wakefulness of consciousness when the last thought dissolves away? Why not? Choice is there, no? And because we are focused on the sleep, I have to sleep, I have to sleep, I have to sleep. Then if sleep doesn't come, another set of imaginations begin. I think I'm losing my mind. I think I have not slept for 3-4 days. I think I'm becoming dysfunctional. I think my mind is going crazy because of no sleep. All these are projections because you projected, I need a sleep. And what is sleep? Where you are one with yourself but under the veil of ignorance. Change kar lo, itna hi simple hai. Then you don't need sleeping pills, you don't need alcohol, you don't need drugs. Simple hai. And the other is vikshepa. And once we don't see, this is what is vikshepa. What I just now said. So that I cannot sleep, 4 nights I have not slept, and like I gave you the example yesterday, 4-5 nights I have not slept. I think I'm going mad. I have to go to, now I'm taking schizophrenia tablets because I'm not able to sleep. This is vikshepa. This is because of vikshepa. This is called projection. So first it was veiling, avarana, and the second was vikshepa. First was delusion, second was illusion or imagination or projection. Another way Chinmayananji explains is non-apprehension and misapprehension. Avidya dvidha vyavasthita vikshepa avriti rupabhyam. This avidya or ignorance expresses itself in 2 ways. One is the projection, the other is the veiling aspect. I just explained the veiling as well as the projection with the example of the sleep. Na bhati na asti kutastha iti apadanam avritihi. Avriti means the kutastha chaitanya is neither known nor exists. Kutastha, there is only pure consciousness. Only with reference we are talking about kutastha. If intellect itself does not exist, if individuality does not exist, does kutastha exist? No. If wave does not exist, does ocean exist? No. They are both coexisting. If individual doesn't exist, then does Jagat and Ishvara exist? Think. They all three coexist. Just like that, like this stand, it has got 3 legs. It is popping it up. Jeev, Jagat, Ishwar. If you take out one, the whole stand will collapse, isn't it? That is the position of you analyze. So it can be Jeev, Jagat, Ishwar. It can be what other 3s are there. Past, present, future you can inquire. Or what else is there? Waking, dream and deep sleep is there. What else is there? Subject, object and instrument of knowledge is there. The Triputis. You can analyze into any one of them. and the edifice will fall on itself and destroy itself. And what remains is you. Don't forget that you will not vanish with that falling of the structure. You continue to be. But for that you have to build up the stamina. You have to have a deep yearning to understand whatever is being told correctly, subjectively, not conceptually. The jiva which has accepted the conditioning of time, space, objects cannot know that which is supporting these. So who is jiva? Who has got identified kutastha, the reflected consciousness identified with the breath, that very moment for it space-time objectivity comes about. And says space-time and objectivity are the conditionings. And who is kutastha? Beyond the conditionings. How can that which is limited, that which is conditioned, can come to know that is unlimited and unconditioned? Right now then what are we doing? We are conditioned beings. Then what are you doing right now? You are nodding away. You are understanding. Then what is happening? You are conceptually understanding, and every now and then you may be even getting a glimpse of it where your mind calms down. Just like you get up in the morning, it is not the waker who is saying that I had a good sleep. It was the Kutastha Chaitanya. It was the witnessing consciousness that blurted forth without doing anything that it was a wonder, it was a beautiful experience. Same way, here also, every now and then, when you are listening, the jiva is listening. In that listening, sometimes suddenly something clicks, or I ask a question, and understanding has taken place, or abidance has taken place for that moment, because you are essentially that. You can never divorce what you already are. You can never divorce from Kutastha Chaitanya. But in this contemplation, in this listening, sometimes the jiva bhav settles down in the contemplation. The jiva which has accepted the conditioning of time, space, object, cannot know that which is supporting these. This non-perception of Kutastha by the jiva is called Avarana Shakti, veiling power. So if you keep insisting that I cannot come to know the Kutastha, I cannot be the Kutastha, it is impossible, I am, the thoughts of the body are coming, thoughts of the breath are coming, thoughts of the thoughts are coming, ideas are coming, thoughts of past and future are coming, but I'm trying, but nothing is happening, and slowly you work yourself up in your mind, the further and further away the Kutastha Chaitanya goes away. It's always there, but it's not available. And what is happening? I cannot know it, I cannot do it, or I can't see anything. If there is no thought in the mind, I can't see anything. I can't experience anything. Both are expressions of avarana, the veil of ignorance. Zero projection and full projection. Both are projections only. So whether you call that you are objectively looking at some things, objects, or you are looking at absence of objects, both are due to ignorance. So I am seeing you and I am seeing gap between you. Both I am seeing, no? So similarly, absence as well as the presence of objects, both are expressions of ignorance. And what is ignorance? Delusion and illusion. Delusion means
No. Listen. No. Non-apprehension.
yeah, but what does it mean? Forgetfulness, not knowing your essential nature is delusion. Here the word used for delusion is avarana. What is avarana? As if you have allowed a veil of absence to cover your the consciousness that you are, and then you project as a result of that. What is that projection? I've given you some examples, but in a total day experience, waking and dream are the projections. Waking and dream are the projections. What is the authority to prove that such an Avaran Shakti exists? Maybe you are talking from the top of your head. Why should I believe you? Why should I accept what you are saying? Is there any validation? Ajnani vidusha prushtha कूटस्थं न प्रबुध्यते न भाति नास्ति कूटस्थ इति बुद्ध्वा वदत्यपि. When asked by a wise man about the Kutastha, an ignorant person promptly answers that neither the Kutastha ever shines nor it exists, and this he speaks he speaks of his experience upon Kutastha. See, this is what we do, no? Hey, what is your name? Before you answer, the other one says, oh, this is Dinesh. Who was the question asked to? And who is answering? This is what is happening in here. Other thoughts come and hijack. I think it is like this. I think it is like that. I think it is like that. This is what it is. So when a wise man asks a jnani, an ignorant man, about the Kutastha Chaitanya, Kutastham na prabudhyate, he promptly replies, there is no such thing as Kutastha. Consciousness, forget it. There is nothing called consciousness. This is the existence of these two aspects, Jiva and Kutastha, are not even suspected because the substratum cannot be known by the superimposition. And therefore our Sanatan Dharma thought, our Vedas, this analysis of our mind and consciousness, so that, and it is done in such a way that it will lead to abundance. Very few other cultures have this deep analysis. Very few. And this is where, when we are doing our Shankar Bhashya with the Upanishads, there we see every now and then where a point is to be reiterated and something has to be firmly established. Adi Shankaracharya takes all other philosophies and sees what their point of approach is to that and negates them, so that these different philosophies are angles of approach to a particular thing. Like someone asked yesterday, is atom conscious, or is there life in atom? And we said no. So that atom is life is a thought of Jainism, and it has to be refuted because matter does not have life. We were talking about it yesterday. Similarly, Buddhism says absence is life, or neti is the ultimate. After that, nothing. That also has to be refuted. How can neti means nothing. How can nothing be something? Basic common sense. So we refute that also. Those who believe that only seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, and all the objects, this is what the reality, that is the one philosophy, we refute that also. So once you have refuted everything, so that your mind does not go in those angles, it is not hijacked by those type of thoughts, then you are alert. So when you are sitting in your meditation or you are sitting by yourself and suddenly, no, but we, after all this, somebody says, but we need a guru. You have lost the plot. If you don't understand that this is the guru and this alone is expressing everywhere, what you are talking about? If you are listening to this and contemplating, and then suddenly in between your thought comes, oh, but we need God, we need Ishvara. What have we been explaining? This is how the hijacking of the mind happens, of the jiva. So jiva is working to go to merge into the divine, and suddenly some thought of duties, of devotion, or objectification, or matter, or from the past comes and hijacks. So extreme alertness is required, and that extreme alertness can only come when a deep thirst and yearning is there for being the pure consciousness, being the truth. Only that can take you out of all this. Analysis is only thing. Don't think logic is going to conclude. Logic is only so that our intellect doesn't go into unwanted areas. But it is not enough for realization. If this is not, this logic that is given here is not approached in the right manner, with devotion, with faith, with a commitment to the pure, to the truth, then all this logic has got no meaning. This logic is for the mind. This logic is for the intellect. The devotion and surrender is for the mind. The duties and everything is for the body. What about breath, Kriya Yoga, Kundalini, lage raho. So understand look at the whole picture rather than get lost. But we become, because we have been entertaining certain thoughts in our mind, and they come and again hijack our attention from the pure consciousness. And that hijacking can be done by any of this. Can be done by the gross body, can be done by the subtle body, can be done by the causal body. Can be done by imaginations, can be done by nothingness. It goes on. This is what is going on right now. This is also an imagination. But this imagination is such an imagination which is helping us to go back to the source. While this is going on, if we allow our intellect to be
Alert
hijacked,
from personal hotspot available.
बंद हो जाए यार. Hotspot available. Divine hotspot. Huh? So I hope you are understanding what we are trying to explain. That is, the existence of these two aspects, Jiva and Kutastha, are not even suspected because the substratum cannot be known by the superimposition. The appearance can never come to know the original. The reflected sun in the waters can never come to know the original sun. But I am also having the same qualities as the original one. लगे रहो फिर. लगे रहो. You may. The reason is that the truth cannot be reached by the eyes or the sense organs or the mind.
Hotspot available.
नहीं चाहिए मेरे को. Cannot be reached by the sense organs or the mind or the speech. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. The kutastha chaitanya or the pure consciousness, or another word is truth. It is beyond the speech, it is beyond the mind. When we use the word mind, means mind and intellect. It's beyond logic and it's beyond the emotions, feelings, and also beyond the senses. It is beyond the known and the unknown. So what is the known? Waking and dream. What is the known? Manifest. What is the unknown? Deep sleep. Another word, unmanifest. It is beyond both. Just now, previous verse, I was explaining that. It is the support of both ignorance and knowledge. So ignorance, deep sleep, knowledge. Where is knowledge taking place? Waking and dream knowledge is taking place. But what is this knowledge? This is aparavidya. We are not talking about direct knowledge. We are talking about indirect knowledge. This is indirect knowledge that is going on. Therefore, the ignorant man says, "Na bhati na asti kutastha iti buddhva vadati api." Na bhati na asti. It doesn't exist and I cannot know it. It cannot be, not I cannot, it cannot be known. There is no such thing as kutastha chaitanya, it cannot be experienced. This is what he thinks, this is what he says. Thus, there are these two stages, not knowing or accepting and projecting one's own concept. Now tell me one thing, if you think little bit, if you cannot know it, then why you are pursuing it? If you cannot know the Kutastha Chaitanya, are you stupid going after something that cannot be known? Why you are pursuing? And how you are pursuing it right now? You are pursuing it through your senses, you are pursuing it through your mind, you are pursuing it through your intellect, you are pursuing it through the words. And what did it say just now? That it is beyond all these. And even though knowing that it is beyond all these, yet we are engaged in all these to pursue that which is beyond. Because that is the only tool we have. But our attention must be on the beyond. So expose your speech, expose your mind, expose your intellect to such thoughts which direct you to the beyond. That is the way to neutralize the whole thing. And that's why it's told, do your japa, go to satsangs, meet the masters. In Kutastha Chaitanya, which is of the nature of pure knowledge, how has ignorance appeared? In the Kutastha Chaitanya, in the pure consciousness, which is one without a second, how has ignorance appeared? Did you ever ask that question to yourself? We'll look at it after the tea. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Just sit quietly for a moment. Hari Om.